Do you guys ever feel like it's harder than ever before to stay disciplined, and maybe the generations before us actually had an easier time with self discipline? Well, that really may be true to an extent, and today I want to kind of talk about it. Welcome back to Find Your Power podcast. I'm your host, Avery Jane, and I want today's episode to kind of make you guys feel like you can get a little bit of a break. I think we constantly feel overstimulated. We feel like we need to be doing the most. We know what we should be doing to achieve our goals and accomplish what we want to accomplish every day, but it's really hard to get it all done. I think we feel like we have a million things on our to do list and yet zero energy to actually fulfill the to do list. So I don't think that we are less disciplined as a generation. I think it's more so that we are dealing with so many more distractions than past generations maybe had to deal with or had to be confronted with. And of course, by distractions, I do mean social media, our phones, our TVs, every single device that we use, just the constant overstimulation of social media, any digital media, and also the constant instant dopamine as well, especially now on social media with, Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, TikTok, whatever you use. All of it is that very instant dopamine, and when we're getting used to that, it's a little bit harder to do things for that delayed gratification when we're getting so used to the instant gratification. I know I am kind of really just jumping into the episode today. I really don't have much of an intro, honestly. This topic really just kind of crossed my mind a few days ago, and I thought it would be a good one because I see so many people, especially in my generation, kind of getting burned out. And I know I talk about burnout like all the time, probably every single episode, but there's so many ways to look at it because yes, I've talked about organizing your schedule the right way, or maybe it's finding the path or the career that fits you best, and maybe that's why you're getting burnt out. But maybe one of the reasons is just all of the distractions that are handed to you every single day. And you may think it's a you problem, You may think I need to be more self disciplined. There's so many little things that we should be doing, quote unquote, nowadays, like, putting your phone in a different room when you go to sleep at night. Is that something that people 100 years ago had to deal with about thinking about? No. But of course there were other problems to deal with 100 years ago. I'm just saying this because I think there's so many little things that come about in our lives that we think, "Oh, we need to do this to be more disciplined." And yes, I think a lot of them would be good to practice, but there are just so many things. Are we really expected to, go the full 9 yards and do every little thing that we are told could make us productive, make us our optimal productive selves? And, you know, getting the 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We have to only use your phone as a tool, never go on your phone for social media, delete all social media. These things that we hear, work out at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day. I don't know what it is. Like all these things that we should be doing to stay disciplined. But the truth is that it's I feel that it's harder than ever before to actually fit all these things into our schedules because we're supposed to do all of these things on top of our 9 to 5 job or whatever. If you're a student, on top of your 5, 6, 7 classes that you're taking, on top of your part-time job, like there's just so many things that we are expected to be doing. And that's my intro for this episode because this has been on my mind, and I don't think it's our fault. I think it's becoming more difficult for our generation to be self disciplined, but not because we are not self disciplined, but because of the amount of distractions that are handed to us on a daily basis that are just very hard to conform to every little thing that we are supposed to be doing. Clearly, I'm passionate about this. So, I first want to just preface that you're not lazy, you're likely overstimulated from all of these things in our environment. It seems nowadays our environment is actually working against our self discipline. Because, like I said, our phones are constant dopamine access, constant hit of dopamine, instant gratification, and it's right there, easily accessible. And of course, like I mentioned before, how there's the YouTube shorts or the YouTube reels. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. The YouTube shorts, the Instagram reels, the TikToks, everything that you can think of on social media, those like short videos, all of those specifically lower our attention span. And that also can make it harder to stay disciplined, or rely on the delayed gratification that comes with discipline as well. Something else that I want to compare this to is how easily accessible everything is, and it seems so amazing that everything is so easily accessible, with AI introduction, with shopping online, with ordering DoorDash or Grubhub food to your house, and Instacart, you can even order your groceries to your house. All these things are so convenient and it makes things so easily accessible. Oh, not to mention like Netflix and Amazon Prime and HBO Max, all these little things that you can use to just access a movie right then and there whenever you want on your phone, on your laptop, on your TV. All of these things make it so accessible and convenient, and yes, that's great for our generation. That's great that we get to experience that. But it really does work against our discipline, our self-discipline, because we no longer have to work as hard to do these things. And it may make you think, oh, well, that should make me have so much more time and energy to do other things that I want to get done. But the truth is that you may have more time when you look at it from a outside perspective, but when you think about it from a mental standpoint, imagine how stimulated your mind is at all times. Your phone is constantly showing you new things, telling you more things to buy, showing you more news outlets. Your brain is going to be constantly overstimulated, and this leads to fatigue, mental fatigue. Whereas in the past, there was a lot less of this constant stimulation and it was a lot less accessible for this stimulation to occur, the mental stimulation. So likely it was easier to focus on one thing at a time that you were doing because you had the mental capacity to just focus on one thing at a time. One line that I wrote that I think is very important is that we are all getting so overwhelmed and overworked that it's hard sometimes to do the stuff that we need to get done, and it really makes us feel lazy. But like I said, we're not lazy. We're overwhelmed and getting overworked and overstimulated. Our mind is getting fatigued quicker. I think that in the past, discipline could have been more described as like willpower and resilience, being self disciplined. But now it seems it's more about resisting this system that is designed to distract you. I know we've all had these moments where we have an idea of something we're going to do. I do this all the time. I think, okay, I have to do this now. Maybe it's something like text someone. I have to text someone real quick. I have to maybe add something to my grocery list on my phone. Something that was supposed to be quick. Maybe it's even checking the weather for the next day. And then next thing I know, it's been 10 minutes and I'm scrolling on Instagram and I forgot to do the thing that I meant to do. This happens all the time. And I don't think I'm the only one that this happens to. It's just so easy to get distracted on there. And especially if it's like you go on your phone and it's already open, if the app is already open, it's the first thing you see, it's going to distract you. You're going to just start going. And then you forgot what you were even going to do on your phone. And then you think, it's been 10 minutes and I didn't even do what I was supposed to do. And that was supposed to be a 30-second task. So, a big reason that I wanted to discuss this topic on the episode as well, because it does also tie into future goals, whether it's career based or just life goals in general. Maybe buying a house, saving money, or like retirement money, and also career growth, because it's really true that you have to be disciplined if you want to meet these goals now. I keep saying things like I lived in these past generations. Of course, I did not. But from my perspective and from what I know a lot of other people believe, is that it's harder nowadays to complete these goals. Maybe in the past, of course, being disciplined was important. Having that self discipline to meet those goals of buying a house or climbing the career ladder, whatever you wanted to do, all of those things, they did need discipline to an extent. But now I think it's now I think we need even more discipline, because we're not only fighting towards what we are trying to do, but we're also fighting off the distractions on the way. But of course, the cost of living has also gone up as well. And that's something that I'm sure you guys have heard way too much of already, so I'm not really going to dive into that. But it is a lot easier to spend money now than it was before as well. So not only is the cost of living gone up, but it's also easier to spend money because of the constant ads that we're being exposed to on your phone, wherever you go. If you're on your phone, if you're watching content, you're going to see an ad, likely. Almost, I'd say 99% sure you're going to see some type of ad. And even if you're driving somewhere, you're likely going to see billboards if you're in the US with ads on them. It's so much easier to spend your money now, not even mentioning the fact of Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever. All you do is just tap your phone, or if you have an Apple Watch, tap your watch. You don't even have to have your wallet on you most places that you go anymore. And this is very interesting to compare to freedom, because yes, it's true, a lot of this does equal to more freedom. Having the access to pay with your phone or your watch, or the freedom, you may call it, to buy what you want when you want without having to have your wallet on you, or the freedom to order food to your house, the freedom to get an item shipped to your house if you need it. All of these do align with freedom as well, but they require even more discipline. I think we can all hopefully agree that with freedom, like the old saying, with freedom comes more responsibility. And by responsibility, I think that can often mean self discipline as well. I know this podcast is mainly directed towards, life advice, but mostly career advice. But I felt like I couldn't talk about this topic without also mentioning the health aspect of self discipline, because there is so much to talk about in that. And I do just want to touch on it because, of course, I am not an expert in nutrition or fitness or whatnot, but I do have some background knowledge that I can share. And of course, I think it's something, like I said, that I wanted to touch on with this topic, because like I mentioned, with the accessibility now in our modern world, the accessibility of ordering food to your house, whether it's groceries or fast food or from a restaurant or whatever, it's it's more accessible than ever before. And this doesn't always mean that it's a good choice. Like I said, this freedom also comes with self discipline needed. So, yes, you could theoretically order food to your house to every single day for your meals if you were financially able to. But from a health standpoint, is that really the best idea? Probably not. It's also so much easier now when you're hungry to buy something pre-made, pre-packaged, something easy, something quick. And I am no way saying this is anyone's fault for doing this. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily, but there is a point of balance that is needed. But it's definitely hard because we are constantly on the move. And by this I mean mentally or physically. We are constantly busy. We have so much to do. We have to go to work. We have to go do this. Then we have to go do that. And we have so many things on our schedule, so many things in our plans. We have a lot to do. And throughout the day, sometimes our schedule just does not have room to for us to sit down and eat for 30, 45 minutes, especially if you're going to add cooking into that. Even though, yes, this is probably the best, most mindful way to eat, the most mindful practice that we're all being told we should do, but it's not exactly realistic if you have so much to get done on your plate. No pun intended, but you have so much to get done on your schedule. And that's why being taking these choices that may be considered less healthy on a regular basis can be easier than having to, you know, cook every single day for yourself or go actually going to the grocery store and picking out your food rather than ordering it to your house. All of these things that are we are told are better for you and are a healthier option, they take more time and they also take more self-discipline because it's not always the case that we're going to choose the harder option when there's easier options right in front of us that we could take. This also goes along with being active physically, going to the gym that takes extra time, or, going for a walk. These things that sometimes are harder to fit into our schedule when we are so busy and overstimulated all the time. We think we don't have time for these things. They take effort. I think it's just important to balance the convenience of things versus the intention of doing things for delayed gratification and long-term success and gratification, because when you compare these things together, I think a balance is the best way to do it. I don't think it's very realistic for all of us to constantly do things for delayed gratification. Like every single aspect of our life needs to be for our future selves. I don't think that's realistic. But I also don't think it's a good idea to just pick the most convenient route every single time, because likely that's not the healthiest option for the long term. I know we all have days that we don't feel like doing things, and that's why I'm saying that a balance is a good idea. It doesn't have to be every day on a day that you're feeling extra fatigued, extra tired. I don't think that you have to go and get groceries and go to the gym, do an hour workout, like cook a full meal. I don't think it's necessary to do these things every single day, especially if there's certain days when you just feel that it's just too much for you. I don't think you need to, but my advice is to just keep it balanced. So, I do want to transition to the self discipline in the perspective of school and career building, because I think that one also mostly aligns with the podcast. So, of course, the idea of self discipline, like I mentioned before, goes along with freedom. And as you go up in school, from elementary to middle school to high school to college, that freedom gets bigger and bigger. You get more and more freedom, which means that you are going to have more and more responsibility and need more self discipline, right? So, likely when you were in elementary school, your parents would tell you to do your homework. They would maybe check your grades. They would make sure you were on track to get your projects finished and everything like that. You had to go to school. You couldn't just stay home every day. And now that you're in college, you do not have someone checking on you every day, likely to see if you studied, to see if your grades are good, to see if you are going to go to class every single day. These things are not the same as they used to be. And for this reason, I think sometimes it's important to kind of take a step back and look at where you are. I know comparing yourself to others is not always a good idea, and I wouldn't usually recommend it, but for this in particular, I think comparing yourself to others that are at the same level as you, maybe if you are in college and you are a freshman, thinking about the friends around you that you have that are also freshmen, kind of where they're at in the college time frame, are they shadowing potential career options yet, or maybe they're waiting until sophomore year to do that? Are they connecting with professors? Are they trying to network? Or are they putting that off a little more? Of course, if you are the type who wants to get ahead, you could use this as well to kind of compare to get ahead as well. I'm just saying this because I think it could be beneficial to do this since you don't have someone usually checking up on you every single day. And I think we naturally do this without realizing it. Maybe we have friends in our class. We're like, are you guys going to class tomorrow? I don't know if I'm going to go. And then if they don't go, probably you don't go because it's like, oh, well, they're not, so I'm not, kind of thing. We do that, I think, naturally, but I think it's good to also ask them, ask friends that you make in your classes or other people that you know from other colleges, from maybe it's high school friends that you have that went to a different college. Maybe ask them about, what they're doing to make that next step in their career or what they're doing to plan what they're going to do after college. No matter what year you are, there's probably a step that you can take that's a little bit closer to your long-term goals, and that may look very different for you than other people, but having that discipline to do that and make that effort to ask and then practice those little things that you may be able to start doing. And sometimes that does mean showing up even when you don't feel like it, showing up to class just because you know it's going to benefit you in the long run, even though in the moment it really doesn't feel like a fun thing to do. I think there's a lot of times where the people that end up getting ahead are not necessarily the smartest or most intelligent, strategic, but maybe they're really just the most consistent when it comes to their goals and what they're focused on. So, unfortunately, I am here to tell you that that may mean studying rather than scrolling sometimes. But maybe you can break it up, Like I said, balance is key. So, you don't have to constantly study if you're feeling drained or fatigued mentally. Maybe you can give yourself, 10, 15 minutes on your phone, do whatever, and then set that timer and be like, okay, now it's time to study. Because sometimes you do need a little mental break. I did mention this in a past episode. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 episodes ago. I cannot remember the name, but I definitely talked about little things that you can add into your routine or into your daily routine to give yourself a mental break. And those were called micro moments. These are little things to help reground your mind, reground yourself. And if you're trying to stay disciplined in something, be consistent with something, I think these are really good to incorporate into your day. Maybe that's taking a 5-minute stretch break from studying or working or making going for a 10-minute walk, little things. They don't have to take too much time, but just something to ground you and give you a little mental break from what you've been doing. So the overall question of this episode, do we need more discipline now than ever before? I think yes, but like I said, I don't think it's because we are lazy. I don't think it's because we are failing. I think it's truly just because it's harder in this world now to stay focused in the things that we want to stay focused in because of the constant distractions that are handed to us. It's not that we're weak, it's not that we're lazy, it's that we're living in a world that constantly tests our discipline with these constant distractions. So, to wrap up the episode, I want to preface that self discipline is not punishing yourself. Honestly, it's self respect to an extent because it's respecting your current present self just as much as you're respecting your future self. And honestly, something that I do a lot is when I have something I think about for the future, maybe it's doing something now that would give me delayed gratification later on. I tell myself, and especially if I don't want to do it, it's so much easier to not do this thing. But if I do it now, I will thank myself later. And when I'm doing these things, I tell myself, future Avery will thank you. Future Avery will thank you for doing this. So I'm just going to do it. And by telling myself that, it makes it easier to do. I think you could try it. I encourage you guys to try that as well. Next time there's something that it would be so much easier to take a different route, but you want to stay disciplined to yourself and give yourself that delayed gratification. Tell yourself that your future self will thank you. It might make it a little bit easier to do. The truth is, every time that you choose self-discipline, you're choosing the life that you say that you want, your ideal future life, your ideal future self. And that is where your power lies, in your ability to have this self-discipline and create this future ideal life for yourself. That does conclude today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening today. Listen or watch on YouTube or Spotify every Thursday. Or just for audio, I am on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Audible. Make sure to check out the Instagram or the TikTok at findyourpower_podcast. All the things that I usually say at the end of the episodes, yada, yada, yada. If you want to be featured in an episode for an interview or a conversation, I would love to have you on. Know that you do not have to have any kind of specialty, certification, whatever. I just want to talk. I think it's great to hear from people, and people probably want to hear from you as well. So do not hesitate to send me an email at the email linked in the podcast description. You can even shoot me a DM on the Instagram as well if you want to be on the podcast. I can do it virtually or in person. Please reach out. I would love to have you. Also, if you guys enjoy the podcast, if you are a loyal listener, please rate the podcast 5 stars. If today was your first episode listening and you did like it, please follow the podcast on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen, or subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are listening or watching on there. It really helps the podcast grow. And if you think someone could really benefit from this podcast, maybe they're in college, maybe they're lost on their future career path ideas, maybe they're just trying to figure out life just like we all are, please send this to them. It really could help them out, and they may thank you later for it. I will talk to you guys again soon next Thursday, and don't forget, we will find your power.